Alright, in this video I'm going to show you a few different things. First thing I want to show you is how to make this sky a different color. So if I were to select the sky using my selection tool, something like this, I could do a few things. I could make it its own layer, so I'm going to copy and paste it, and you can see it's its own layer now on top of this one. Or I could just leave it the way it is, like this, and if I go to hue and saturation, I can hit colorize, alright, and here, ooh, see, it actually got my little balloon. I didn't want to do that, so I better undo that. So Control Z to undo it. I'm going to toss this away. So on my background layer, I got to make sure when I make that selection, I kind of go around the balloon. There we go. And now I can do hue and saturation, or I could cut this out. So I'm going to hit colorize, and now when I change this to red, I can also make it more intense if I need to, and make that work for me. Alright, so that's pretty simple. If I want to add like a light source behind something, so let's try that out. So I am going to again make this selection, but this time actually I want to select the balloon. So I got to make sure I'm actually on the balloon layer, so I'm on the background, and I make a selection of this. It's kind of confusing for it to understand though, because there's so many different reds and whatever else. So sometimes it's better off using the magnet tool. So if you hold this down, there's this magnetic lasso tool, and you can kind of like go along the edge here, and I just want a selection of the balloon itself. Alright, there we go. And if it's not quite right, you can kind of like zoom in and use the selection tool to actually expand that selection. So I can go in there and get the little guy right there too. That looks pretty good. I got this little edge here, probably clean up, and I'll unzoom there. Okay, now copy and paste. It's its own layer. I can put it up here. I can turn these off, and it's by itself. See? All right, so I'm going to go back to my layer, background layer here, and I'm going to duplicate that layer just in case. And I'm going to take this layer here then, and I'm going to create a light. All right, then I just need to go up to filter. That's where it's at. Render, lighting effects. Now notice I was in the background layer there. Okay. I go to lighting effects, and it brings us up this little lighting thing, and I can move this thing around, which is pretty cool, and I can put it behind the balloon. It's not actually in front of it, it's actually behind it, and I could change the intensity of this, right? I can make it quite a bit brighter or not. I could also color this, so I could make it some other color. Let's go for like this pinky color, right? And again, you may want to make that really intense or not. It kind of depends. So one thing you could also do before I even tried doing that is I only want to affect the sky, so I should probably make a selection of just the sky. That probably makes some sense. And now when I go to do that lighting effect, I only want to affect this here. So I'm going to copy and paste this. All right. So if I turn this off, you can see it's only the sky layer now, and that way when I go to make it, it'll only affect the sky. So let's try that again. So I'm going to go up to render, lighting effects, and now when I move this, you can see it's not affecting the landscape. It's really just the sky. So I'm going to set that behind the balloon because I want that to be nice and sparkly, and I can then choose whatever color I want, make as intense or not as much. All right, if I like that, I hit OK. All right, and up here I can hit OK, and you can actually have these other cool ones too. They have these spots and whatever else, but I'll just hit OK here, and I'm good. So the colorization thing is kind of gone, but I have that lighting effect that I want. But I can hit colorize, and again, I can actually set this to be as bright as I want. That lighter color around it though still exists. See, that's the difference, turning that colorizing on or not. Kind of looks kind of poopy. Maybe I would have been better off just choosing red instead of doing it this way. But that's how it works. You want to make sure it's on its own layer to make that work for you. That's about it. I'm going to move on to the next one now. That'd be how to get a reflection. So let's say I wanted the water to start here at the bottom. What I could do is make a selection down to the point where I want it. Let's say it's right there. I could copy and paste that. All right. And now I have this layer that's right here. That's all it is, right? So I'm going to drag the top of this, and you can see that it says, oh, it's about 2 inches high. And I'm going to make this go down to about 2 inches low. Alright, and if I click off it, hit apply transformation, there we are. So this is our reflection right here, right? So it's just that. And my canvas isn't quite large enough, so I could go to canvas size and then make sure the height changes to, like, let's say 5 inches instead, and I can make sure it only goes downward by clicking that button. Alright, so there it is. And I'm going to turn this off for a second. So we want to take this layer right here, and we want to like make it look kind of wavy and stuff like that. So I'm going to go up to filter gallery, and you can choose different ones, but we probably want, you could do a texture thing, but really the one that makes the most sense is probably ocean ripple. And you got to make it enough that you actually can tell a difference between the one above it. Okay, so probably going to go a little much, don't want to go crazy with it. Then I hit OK, and you can see it, you know, if you compare it to the sky, you can actually see the rippliness in there. Alright, and I went a little too far on this, so I could crop this down. I'm just going to kind of highlight down to here and then go to image crop, and it'll get rid of, oops, it's not letting me do it. Maybe it's because it's not a flat image, or it's on the background, maybe that's why. There we are, crop. Alright, hit OK. Oops. Did I not hit crop? There we are. Okay, and that's how I get my reflection. So this is its own piece, but you'll want to leave it where it was. Alright. Alright, and last one. So, drop shadows. If you've used them, great. If you haven't, here it is. So I'm going to just make some sort of selection. So I'm just going to use a lasso tool here. And I'm just going to kind of squiggly line this thing. Alright, and stop right there. And I could copy and paste this thing, and it's its own layer now. So if you look, there it is. And I could move this around, right? Or I could just copy the entire thing, Control A, Control C, Control V. I have my own layer over here. And let's say I move this piece of paper, but I want to make it look like it's on that piece of paper, right? So if I take this piece of paper and I go up to Layer, Layer Style, Drop Shadow, if you turn the preview on, you'll be able to see a difference. It's right there on the edge. But right now it's not very big. So you can change distance, you can change the spread of it, and the size. So we want it kind of fuzzy a little bit, and you don't have to make it real intense, so you can change the opacity of that. You can keep it on normal as well, but you're going to be able to see it a little bit more. So if you want to make it look like it's far away, you'd want the drop shadow to, the distance to be really great, but if it's just a little bit, you just want a tiny bit, and just doing that little bit right there makes it look like it's coming off the page. So right now it's just on there flat. If I hit preview, you can see it looks like it's just hovering above it probably. And I can hit OK on that, and that gives me that effect right there. I could also do the opposite of that. Well, not really the opposite, but let me show you what I mean. So let's say I cut a little hole in this paper, all right, and copy and paste that. It's its own little layer right here. Okay, it's probably kind of hard to see. So I'm going to colorize this so that way you can see a difference. So I'm going to hit colorize, and wow, it's coloring everything. So what I want to make sure I do is I press this button right here, so it only colorizes that piece of paper. And I'll turn the intensity up on this thing. All right, so there it is. All right. So I could take this piece of paper and I could do other things with it. So for example, I could go up to, oh, I'm losing it here. What do I want to do? Layer style. There we go. You can also do inner shadows and inner glows and stuff like that. If I go to drop shadow, it does bring up this dialog box here, and you can see the difference. I could do outer shadow, right? Or I could do inner shadow, which is kind of cool. So it's actually at the inside of it. So it almost looks like now that we are looking into it instead of outside of it, right? You can kind of see this edge within it. I'm not sure why it's not letting me choose more options right now. It's kind of strange. Maybe it's because I'm on the drop shadow one instead. So let me cancel out of this and try this instead. I'm going to go layer, layer style, and we'll do inner shadow. There, now it gives me the options. And I could change the distance of this inner shadow, or the size, or the opacity, all of that good stuff. Kind of looks like I'm seeing through it to a green paper below it. You could also do outer glow and stuff like that too. So if I click that, you could choose a color. Let's say I want to outer glow like this blue color or something. And I could, ooh, it's on. See, I actually have to make sure I click outer glow here, and it gives me those options. And I could play around with that. But the inner shadow is really what I want to concentrate on right here. You can also change the angle of it, like what direction you want that to be going, but it's kind of up to you. Okay. That's about it. You can play around with some of these other ones, but yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything you need to know that I kind of missed out on. Good luck. Oh, and there's one other thing. It's how to skew things. So let's say I need to skew this thing. It's not really flat. I gotta make sure my show transform controls are on so I can see these little guys right here. But you hold down Control, and you can pull and grab and move the edges. Basically, you want this little that little thing to come up. It's kind of lagging on me here, but if you hold down Control, you can grab these edges here and kind of make it look flat or stretched or however you need to. But yeah, that's about it. Good luck.